Good afternoon, everybody. Chris Frew with BioBuzz for this week's episode of What's the Buzz, where we get to talk to ecosystem builders and the people that are really helping to accelerate innovation, build regions, foster ecosystems, and help get more medicines to market and companies commercialized. Today, I'm excited to talk with Megan Shaw, President and CEO of Pittsburgh Life Science Alliance. Megan, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. We're very excited to talk today. I know got you just in our pre-prep conversation. You got me really excited about today's conversation. So,
Looking forward to it.
very excited to talk about Pittsburgh and everything you all are doing. Before we jump in, let me give a little housekeeping and talk a little bit about BioBuzz and our sponsors. So, BioBuzz is a platform been around 15 years. Our mission is really to bring the world together around life sciences. We do that by helping to foster ecosystems and support work like people like Megan are doing to really build regional ecosystems. And we're sponsored by CRB. CRB is one of our longstanding partners. While we're talking about ecosystem builders today, they're literally building the ecosystem, Megan. They are a design build firm. So if you're working in a lab in the capital region, they do a lot in Philadelphia, North Carolina. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with them up in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I am. And they actually do some great reports too, on the state of the industry as well. So
They do. That's right. They have the Horizon report they put out, which has a really good insight. So, but we couldn't do this without our sponsors. So thank you to CRB for literally building the life science ecosystem for us to talk about. Well, let's jump in today, Megan. Do you mind just giving everybody a little backstory and introduction to you and the PLSA?
Sure. Well, thanks having me on today. Appreciate it. And I know it's Friday afternoon, so hopefully this will be a bit of an espresso martini for your BioBuzz listeners as we go into the weekend. A little fun, little over-caffeinated builder buzz. So, I guess very briefly about me, and then we can turn to what's important, which is Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Life Sciences Alliance. But I come at this from a kind of a unique perspective in that I have been on the strategy consulting and private equity side to start my career, and then was in the startup side and did a health tech startup out of UVA. And so I was actually involved in really building a company from the ground up. So the first employee, and I was a ultrasound diagnostic company in the coagulation space. So I had the opportunity to really understand what it takes to build something in the life sciences ecosystem, the long paths to market, the need to raise funds, the regulatory process. And I think that gave me a really foundational perspective coming into this. And then I also got to work a bit in with the NIH during COVID on the RADx program, looking at COVID diagnostics. And then from there, got to go into building the ecosystem in Pittsburgh a bit. And this is what kind of gave me an opportunity to see how much exciting content we have in the Pittsburgh region. But I had an opportunity to lead the life sciences group of Innovation Works, which is our regional seed stage investor that's backed by the state. And they launched a life sciences accelerator in partnership with one of the healthcare systems, Highmark Health here in the region. And so from that, really got a taste of everything that was going on in the region. And when the PLSA opportunity came along, was very excited to jump into that.
That's great. I appreciate that backstory. It's interesting. One of the things that I always see in ecosystems is just navigating. So you mentioned a couple names, because there's a lot of organizations that go into fostering, these environments and the right environment for these health tech and biotech companies to foster. Sounds like you have a lot of those elements, already there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, what's really exciting about Pittsburgh is sort of the foundational asset set that we have here. So Pittsburgh has 2 R1 universities within 1 mile of each other. We have Carnegie Mellon University, which is #1 in AI. It's really the birthplace of AI, routinely ranked #1 in their graduate programs for AI and #2 in computer science. And they are really, the talent coming out of there is just incredible. For everything from AI to VR, analytics, robotics, it's phenomenal. And what we're seeing is the major AI and tech companies are all setting up hubs in Pittsburgh to be close to that talent. So on the one hand, you've got Carnegie Mellon, and then a mile down the road, you've got the University of Pittsburgh, which is a life sciences powerhouse. They had over 1.2 billion in R&D last year, and 80 or 90% of that was in the life sciences. So this is an organization that's, top 20 in the world for patent generation. And they have a phenomenal med school associated with the University of Pittsburgh. So ranked nationally in all these different specialties. And what we find is you go to any city in the country, and the health system there has a department chief who came from Pitt, trained at Pitt. So you've got these two universities here. And then overlaying that, you've got two integrated delivery networks here. And your listeners probably know this, but that's when you have the healthcare system and the insurer in an integrated model. Kaiser Permanente is the classic example of that. But here in Pittsburgh, we have not one, but two of those. So we have Highmark Health, which owns AHN. It's the number 3 IDN in the country. And then we have UPMC, which is the number 1 health system in the state. Between them, they have 70 hospitals and just a clinical powerhouse to be here. So you've got these great universities, these great health systems, and then a really strong existing industry cluster. We have a strength in the medical device area with over 90 companies there. We've got Zoll, Bayer, Haemonetics, Smith & Nephew, Thermo Fisher. And many of these companies have both an R&D center and a manufacturing center here. And then a very strong therapeutics play here. So there's this great constellation of industry, academia, and health systems here that really creates a unique environment. And then a strong set of innovation and entrepreneurial support organizations that wrap into that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, as you're talking about the university foundation too, when you think about where you are starting with your foundation and you think about the direction that industry is going, really integrating, data and AI and health and life science across the value chain too, not just in the clinical data, but like even through the processes. Sounds like the perfect storm for like the next 10 years of innovation, where the focus is.
I think even more than that. I mean, I couldn't be more excited about the way healthcare is going and the way our innovation is based here. So we see data-driven healthcare as one of the areas that this region really excels at. Mm-hmm. And that's everything from computational biology to AI-enabled drug discovery to health IT. Mm-hmm. Fundamentally, healthcare is changing and is becoming much more technically focused, and the intersections here that we have allow us to do a real talk here there.
Yeah. I think that's really positioning Pittsburgh in an incredible spot. With all those, assets, I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of the journey you're on or you're leading with PLSA. Like, I know that you all did a report last year, and you have some initiatives you're running. Walk us through like PLSA, and how you're helping to kind of navigate some of these things and really help the region to foster some and leverage these assets and these the assets you have to grow the region.
Yeah, great question. So I want to go back in time a little bit, and we are fortunate in Pittsburgh to have not just our universities and the health systems, but an incredible foundation community here, largely based in much of the industrial wealth of Pittsburgh's first heyday. And so some of the very forward-looking foundations here came together with the universities and the health systems to form PLSA. So it was Carnegie Mellon, University of Pittsburgh, Highmark and UPMC, and the R.K. Mellon Foundation and Hillman Foundations came together to launch this. And the idea was they could see this writing on the wall that we had all this potential as a region. And so we're looking for a way to pull it together and work together as a region to move this forward. So PLSA was launched. We were formed in April of 2024, thanks to a grant from the R.K. Mellon Foundation. And the very first thing we wanted to do was to understand the ecosystem and take a very data-driven approach to what is special about Pittsburgh and what should we build upon as we go forward. So we engaged Economy Partners, who's a national economic development consulting organization, and did a 8-month project to really delve into what is specialized about this region. And we wanted to understand, where should we focus and what are some of the challenges that might have held us back. And so the findings were fantastic. I mean, as you can imagine, based on the universities here, we start with this very deep R&D expertise. There are over 100,000 publications that came out of this region in the last few years. So the R&D is phenomenal that underpins this. Where there's sometimes a gap is our ability to then commercialize that and bring that to the level of industry output that we would expect to see. So we worked with Techonomy to understand where should we focus that. And what the report found was there are really 2 areas where this region is tremendously differentiated. One is what we started to talk about, which is data-driven healthcare. So that is this intersection of technology and healthcare. And just to give you a couple examples of the types of things we're seeing here, there's a company called Abridge, which is based in Pittsburgh. This is the founder went to Carnegie Mellon University. He trained at the University of Pittsburgh, did his residencies there, and then worked at UPMC as an attending cardiologist. And with UPMC Enterprises, he launched this company, Abridge, which is a clinical scribe. So it's ambient listening. It listens into the doctor-patient conversation and transcribes the notes. And what that does is it, gives the doctor back their pajama time at the end of the day, but also gives the patient a much better summary of what was discussed. This company is a unicorn. They were just valued at about $2.5 billion, but they are, getting TechCrunch's top 50 disruptor, the Forbes, AI innovator. It's just a phenomenal company that is leading at this healthcare innovation space. And it's the perfect story of Pittsburgh and what we bring from that technical talent and that healthcare access. So that's one example. Another company like this is Realize Intelligence. So this is one that's applying AI to clinical trials and helping to develop faster enrollment, more diverse cohorts, and leveraging real-world data, real-world evidence. So that's like another company that came through here and was recently acquired by Carta Health. So this whole data-driven healthcare area is one we're very excited about. The other area that we found in the Techonomy report is what we call next-gen precision therapeutics. So stepping back, one of the very exciting developments in this region is what's called BioForge. So the R.K. Mellon Foundation gave the University of Pittsburgh a $100 million investment to develop BioForge, which is a CDMO for cell and gene therapies. And there's really 2 parts to that. One is that we have Elevate Bio coming in from Boston to build their second base camp here. So Elevate Bio is a phenomenal CDMO in the cell and gene therapy space, doing really innovative work to bring new cell and gene therapies and other precision biologics to the market. So they're going to be building out a full second manufacturing facility here. I had a chance to tour their facility in Boston a couple weeks ago, and it's just awesome and so cutting edge. So to have that coming here as a cornerstone of the Pittsburgh economy is really exciting. And then a second part of that is there's going to be a real effort to do manufacturing breakthroughs in the development of cell and gene therapies, which is being led by Ken Gabriel, who came out of DARPA, and a really exciting opportunity here for the region. So that's underpinning this whole next-gen precision therapeutics piece. But we also have a variety of companies here in the region in that. So Crystal Biotech is a homegrown Pittsburgh company. They started the first redosable gene therapy, and they're currently valued at about $5 billion. We've got a whole constellation of other companies in phase 2 and phase 3 in the CGT space.
Yeah. Could you clarify? So BioForge and Elevate are both going to be, they both have it's a CDMO, both of those?
Yeah, great question. So BioForge is both a building and a program. The building is about 185,000 square foot new facility that's being built. 70% of that will be occupied by Elevate Bio with their base camp, and 30% will be this innovative program to do manufacturing breakthroughs in cell and gene therapy.
Great, that's helpful. So the BioForge is the facility, is the park, per se. And so you'll have a on-site leader in cell and gene therapy by CDMO.
Yep.
And then kind of like Skunk Works right next to it,
Yep.
where you can real time work on truly advanced next generation tools, technologies, advancements to move cell and gene therapy forward. Is that the model?
Exactly. And it's important to note that this facility sits right next to Carnegie Mellon's Manufacturing Futures Institute and Robotics Institute. So part of the idea here is this is a PIT program that's collaborating closely with CMU. Again, we've got the health systems right here. So it's the intersections of all of these different pieces that I think is really exciting here.
Absolutely. Especially, that is one of the areas that is critical for cell and gene therapy to really advance. That's one of the heat zones in that space is can we advance some of the manufacturing and speed it up and lower cost and improve safety. So it sounds like you're kind of like ground zero for where that could be, where there's a lot of activity in that area.
Absolutely. You think about the need to apply AI to the automation of these processes in a sterile environment. I can't imagine a better place than Pittsburgh with the skill sets we bring to have really transformative breakthroughs in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think and UPitt they have some cell therapy work and clinical trials going as well. So again, talking about the full circle ecosystem, it continues to kind of all be right there in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, there's huge clinical trial infrastructure here. Again, having the two big health systems here, one with a major academic focus, as you said, brings that whole piece together.
Yeah, the full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. So with the Techonomy report, and you all are less than even a year old. I've gotten you're like going on almost 11 months, almost 12 full year here. So that's a lot. Sounds like you've been doing in this year to really get the foundation, get the strategy, data-driven strategy and growth, built on good sound data and the Techonomy report. So when you think about these two sectors, and kind of what's in front of you after this first year, like what are the challenges? What are some of the kind of the challenges that you're going to be looking into this next kind of sophomore year for the organization, and to kind of respond to some of the data, respond to some of the report, and kind of move some of these forward?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest challenges we face is that Pittsburgh is very humble, and it's helping to tell our own story. So I was talking to a PR professional last week who was talking about the say-do problem, where they have a lot of clients that talk a really big game, say a lot of things, and don't do much.
Mm-hmm.
And their point was Pittsburgh has the opposite problem. We're doing a tremendous amount, and we don't talk about it very much. So we are constantly surprised by how little awareness there is of all of the really exceptional developments that are happening in this region. So a big focus for PLSA in the coming year is to help raise the profile of the region, tell the stories of the successes, and make sure that people are aware of what's already here.
That's great. I wish I knew a life science oriented media and ecosystem that could help get that buzz going.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's again, that's a problem that we love solving, and I think honestly, you're not unique in that. I think by nature, historically, science is a more humble. We publish in our papers and we present at our conferences and our associations, and there's a legacy mindset in life sciences and this industry, and in today's world where we are commercializing, and and the story is important to make sure that the connections are made, and to make sure that the right investors have confidence about what's happening in the region, and the right talent wants to move to the region, and the right companies want to move to the region. So you're not alone. I mean, that's a shift that we see in a lot of markets that we're in, and a lot of companies we work with, because we work with a lot of companies and help them to tell their story. And but it's not bragging, it's not boasting, it's sharing your story. In fact, some of our origin story, like I met Steve Case, who's the founder of AOL.
Yeah.
And part of our origin story was in a short conversation I had with him. He said, every ecosystem needs a good media partner, because you need to celebrate the innovations. They don't always get picked up by the big PR publications, right? But you need to celebrate the startups, and you need to celebrate, the folks that they're head down working hard. And he said, if that's something that's missing in life science, there's an opportunity there.
That's great. I didn't know that about that's a great foundation story.
Yeah. So, but again, you're not unique. So telling the story. So hopefully today we got a lot of people listening, and we can help share some of that story, because it's incredibly impressive when just in the first part of our conversation, you literally laid out a map that I guarantee 90% of the ecosystems that are that are out there would die to have all those chess pieces kind of lined up around.
Yeah, we're really fortunate, and that's come up over and over again. Is we're not striving to create something that doesn't exist here, right? We have all the pieces, and so it's putting them together, connecting the dots. We're doing a lot of work to bring together industry, academia, and healthcare professionals. So there's more of that mixing and innovation happening. We've got a big conference coming up in April, and just really looking to see more of that mixing. But the pieces are here, so it's just putting them together.
Yeah. How important is industry to this equation, right? How important is industry to be at the table, kind of pulling forward, versus kind of, the university or, NGO kind of ecosystem builder kind of pushing it up? Like, love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I come from the private sector and have a very strong bias on this, which is that this has to be ultimately about industry. Industry is who is employing people and is bringing these innovations to market. So everything we're doing has to be with the industry in mind and in supporting them. And actually, the very first thing we did when we launched PLSA was to form an industry advisory council and make sure that we were listening very closely to what our industry partners in the region are already doing and what they need and how to support them. And one of the most fun parts of my job is we have quarterly working groups for each of our subsegments, and get the industry leaders together and, say, here are some things we're hearing, and open it up to them, and get them to share challenges across the industry, across these different segments. And it's been great. There's so much going on, but ultimately, I think an organization like ours can uniquely help to bring together challenges across multiple players and help to solve them at the regional level. And that's one of the things we're seeking to do.
Yeah. So PLSA sits there again as a facilitator and a leader, a servant leader, and kind of facilitating. But industry is really a big part of what guides the demand and the direction that things are going.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because you said you came from industry, and again, just in my travels, we talked to a lot of ecosystem builders, and we're in a few of them ourselves, and I see a big difference when you have someone come that came out of a startup or came out of an industry, is now leading either a program or an accelerator or an association, than more like a career association type of professional. A huge difference in kind of the way you orchestrate your strategy, and it is often one that does kind of pull industry into it.
Yeah, I mean, they're ultimately the companies that are taking the risk, right? And going through the process, the long and lengthy and hard and capital intensive process of bringing innovations to market. And so I think respecting the challenges that are there and doing what we can to support them is vital.
Yeah. So a couple opportunities for some plugs. What you have coming up next? You said you have a conference coming up in April.
April 24th, we have a conference, and actually there's a conference called Life Sciences Future Southwest, which we're putting on with the State Trade Association, Life Sciences PA. We're really excited about that. It's the first time we've had a really big conference in Pittsburgh in the life sciences. So definitely encourage people to check that out. There's actually going to be a whole constellation of events around that, both probably the day before and day after. So people coming into the region will get to see early stage companies, tour lab space, meet people in the region. So we're quite excited about that. And then, lots of we're doing lots of publications, really seeking to promote the successes here. So I'd encourage people to follow us on LinkedIn, sign up for our newsletter, and check us out at that conference. I think, fundamentally anybody who's kind of working at the intersection of healthcare and technology and looking to where healthcare is going should be, have a finger on the pulse of what's going on here, because it's really innovative.
Yeah. And aside from that conference, how's best for people to engage and plug in with the Pittsburgh region, PLSA, probably a good place to start.
Yeah. I mean, we sort of see ourselves as one of the front doors here. So definitely, again, newsletter and LinkedIn, there's a lot on there. On the entrepreneurial side, there is LifeX and Innovation Works, which are doing a lot of investing in early stage life sciences companies. We're also, I don't think I mentioned it, but both health systems have venture funds. So UPMC Enterprises and Highmark Ventures are both doing a lot of really exciting work in the region. So, on the early stage and mid stage, those are all players that I would encourage people to follow.
Yeah, we didn't talk a lot about investment, so I'm glad you brought that up. So you do have active investors. I know, LifeX and Innovation Works are from an accelerator type program, correct?
They both have accelerator programs and seed stage funds.
Okay, great. I didn't realize that. So you got seed stage funds, and then Highmark and UPMC, are they seed stage? Are they more later stage venture funds?
For Series A and beyond, UPMC has a unique model in that they will play in a variety of different areas. They will sort of seed companies within their system, but then also do later stage investing. They've actually put over $1 billion to work, so they're a very large player in terms of UPMC enterprises. And then Highmark Ventures is focused on the digital space and it's doing some pretty interesting investing at the Series A beyond space.
Yeah, it's exciting. Well, May, you've done a great job today of really painting the ecosystem. I hope people are really getting excited just after listening to this today. Again, when you have a foundation and a university that's really has a pipeline of innovation and talent and industry leading talent in really where the pulse of the industry is going, that can layer on top of a foundation of existing companies and infrastructure. And it sounds like the BioForge and the other innovative programs you have really are exciting kind of catalysts to what's happening in Pittsburgh.
They are. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't genuinely believe in the opportunity. And I am so excited about what's to come for this region and just the way we're firing on all cylinders. And both the pieces here are aligning with, macro trends and where healthcare and technology are going. So it's a great time. And I really appreciate you giving me the chance to share about the region.
Absolutely. These are my favorite conversations. But before I let you go, Megan, so you're a Pittsburgh transplant you mentioned earlier. You said about 8 years you've been?
Yes.
So as a transplant, what's something about Pittsburgh that you love that people don't know that you learned after moving there?
Okay, there's so many different things, but the parks and nature here is amazing. So I think there's like a phenomenal outdoor scene that was not on my radar before I moved here. But the thing that still surprises me is people are so nice. Like, it is just been the easiest place. I've lived so many different places, and it has been the easiest place to make friends and get plugged in and just feel a sense of community of anywhere I've ever lived. So it's a really special place.
That's great. I always think about that, because I have a recruiting company as well. So we recruit all over the country, and we relocate people, and sometimes the jobs are great, the companies are great, but you know what people ask about? What's it like to live there?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the things sometimes that we get on these conversations, and I like to bring them up too. Like, what about just life in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. It's great. I mean, again, I'm biased, but the cost of living is super low, and it's I think it's an incredible place to raise a family. And the resources here are just phenomenal. The cultural amenities we have for the size of the city is unparalleled.
Well, my family was originally from Pittsburgh, so I mean, it can't be that bad if I came out of it, I guess. Shout out to any of my Fru family that's listening to today.
Welcome back.
Megan,
Got a lot going on here.
yeah, well, I'm very excited. We definitely hope to be up there for the April event. We'll make sure we post the link to that so people can register, as well as a link to your website, and share it. So again, thank you very much for the conversation today. Great way to end the week for me. I'm excited learning more about everything you're doing, and again, thank you for everything you do to grow the region and help grow this industry.
Thank you for telling our story and all the work you do to tell the story of the life sciences ecosystems.
Our pleasure. It's a pleasure and a passion. So, well, thank you all for tuning in today. Everyone has a wonderful Friday and a very great weekend. Tune in next time. We've got an exciting conversation coming up with Brian Stamper, who's leading the cell therapy expansion at AstraZeneca in Maryland. So tune in a couple weeks for that one. Until then, have a great